Hello. This video is a response to a TEDWomen talk, not TEDx, TEDWomen. I didn't even know those existed, from Ashley Judd, and it's about online violence and abuse of women. And then just abuse of women in general, in STEM fields, in everyday life, basically parroting the Anita Sarkeesian effect with her own religious fervor. Yes, God comes into play too. With that said, let's get to it.
Ashley Judd, stupid fucking slut.
After watching this video once through, I can agree. Ashley Judd is a cunt. She's a raging feminist cunt, and I can't stand her. Have I tweeted her that? No. But I could. There are a number of insults to follow. I'm not going to stop after each one because that would make this an hour-long video. But there may be one or two I'll stop at because of the salt they'll create.
You can't sue someone for calling them a cunt. If you can't handle the internet, fuck off, whore. I wish Ashley Judd would die a horrible death. She is the absolute worst. Ashley Judd, you're the reason women shouldn't vote. Twisted is such a bad movie, I don't even want to rape it.
Shout out to Sargon. He has infused popular culture with his "I wouldn't even rape you" line. Congratulations, sir, on a job well done.
Whatever you do, don't tell Ashley Judd she'll die alone with a dried out vagina. If I had to fuck an older woman, oh my God, I would fuck the shit out of Ashley Judd. That bitch is hot AF. The unforgivable shit I would do to her. Online misogyny is a global gender rights tragedy, and it is imperative that it ends.
And there it is, online misogyny, and it has to stop. Notice that the audience is wall-to-wall women. There might be the odd beta male in there, but we don't know for sure. Now, Ashley's missing the point here that more than half of the online abuse is directed at men, and that the majority of online abusers are women, and the majority of online abusers who attack women are women.
Girls' and women's voices and our allies' voices are constrained in ways that are personally, economically, professionally, and politically damaged. And when we curb abuse, we will expand freedom.
2 points here. First, how are women's voices constrained? Details here. Are you silenced on Twitter? Are you silenced on Facebook? Can you not speak up at work? Can you not speak up at home? I don't think so. And if you are in an environment that doesn't allow you to speak up, you need to do something about it. You have the power. You are an autonomous human being with agency. Stand the fuck up for yourself and get it done. Now to the second point, curbing this abuse. Who exactly is going to determine what is abuse and what isn't? And once those abuses are clamped down on, why is that suddenly more freedom for everyone? Why is that going to make the world better when we censor people? Look what's happening in Germany. People are being dragged out of their homes because they made tweets against immigrants. A man was arrested in Scotland for doing the same thing. Is this freedom? Did this make the world better? I don't fucking think so.
I am a Kentucky basketball fan, so on a fine March day last year, I was doing one of the things I do best. I was cheering for my Wildcats. The daffodils were blooming, but the referees were not blowing the whistle when I was telling them to. Funny, they're very friendly to me before the opening tip, but they really ignore me during the game. 3 of my players were bleeding, so I did the next best thing. I tweeted.
A pretty innocuous tweet, although I'm kind of surprised she censored ass. Why is that important? Making it PG for the sports networks she included in the tweet? I don't know. She goes from not being able to spell out the word ass to using every epithet in the book for shock value, just to get her audience on her side to start. Seems rather disingenuous to me. I know it's a minor point, but she's going to go on forever, and I had to break it up somewhere.
It is routine for me to be treated in the ways I've already described to you. It happens to me every single day on social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Since I joined Twitter in 2011, misogyny and misogynists have amply demonstrated they will dog my every step. My spirituality, my faith, being a hillbilly, I can say that, you can't, all of it is fair game.
Well, if you lay things out there like your love for feminism, which you do, your faith, which you do, talking about being a hillbilly, which you do, they're going to come after you. And who are they? The trolls. It's what they do. And you're feeding them by giving talks such as this. You're showing them they're making their point onto your psyche, that they're getting to you. That's silly. You should know better. And don't think I didn't notice that little bit where you called yourself a hillbilly and then said, sotto voce, I can say that, you can't. Cute. I don't know why you had to throw that in there and bring up an entire racial divide that's happening right now, but thanks. Thanks for bringing that up.
And I have responded to this with various strategies. I've tried engaging people. This one guy was sending me hyper-sexual, nasty stuff, and there was a girl in his avatar, and I wrote him back and said, "Is that your daughter? I feel a lot of fear that you may think about and talk to women this way." And he surprised me by saying, "You know what? You're right. I apologize. Sometimes people want to be held accountable."
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say you did change this guy. You did win him over to your side. One thing, though, I know that you use an employee to scrub your social media accounts. You say so later in this video. So when did this happen? When did this miracle occur? Or did it occur at all?
This one guy was musing to I don't know who that maybe I was the definition of a cunt. I was married to a Scot for 14 years, so I said, cunt means many different things in different countries.
Yes, that's pretty much true. But I assume that he was writing from America, because that's where the word cunt really kicks in hard. If he was writing you from Australia, I doubt he would use that word. He might use a word something like minge. But here's the thing. You use this tired old trope to try to deflect the insult, but what do you do in the next sentence? Let's see.
But I'm pretty sure you epitomize the global standard of a dick.
Oh, and the crowd goes wild. I'm telling you, this one's hilarious. She has to hide behind the fact that cunt doesn't have the same impact in all languages. But then she turns around and says, you are the epitome of a dick. Well, what's a dick? Is it a cunt in men's clothing? You can't have your swear words and eat them too, my dear.
I've tried to rise above it. I've tried to get in the trenches, but mostly I would scroll through these social media platforms with one eye partially closed, trying not to see it, but you can't make a cucumber out of a pickle.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Why would you want to make a cucumber out of a pickle? One isn't better than the other. Where are you coming from with this? I understand it's a little down-home humor, something from the hills, but it could at least make a little sense. Now I've got one for you. Making a mountain out of a molehill. Do you think that might have a little bit of application as to what you're doing during this talk? If not, you should.
What is seen goes in, it's traumatic. And I was always secretly hoping in some part of me that what was being said to me and about me wasn't true. Because even I, an avowed, self-declared feminist who worships at the altar of Gloria, internalized the patriarchy.
You hoped it wasn't true. Once again, where the fuck are you coming from? I'm dumbfounded at the prospect of trying to parse this phrase. How could a troll begin to make you think that they're right? What kind of self-esteem issues do you have? Oh, wait, you're an actress, you're from Hollywood. Insecurity is the bread and butter of the industry. I get it. But still, you're a self-avowed feminist. Don't you think a little bit of the teaching, especially from her high priestess Gloria, would have helped you along the process a little bit? Would have gotten you out of this rut? Why do trolls own your life, woman? Seriously. And then, of course, you internalize the patriarchy. Dum dum dum. Lightning. Oh, my God. You're an idiot. I'm going to take that back. Actually, I think you're doing that on purpose. I don't think you internalize the patriarchy. I'm not even sure you know what that means. But it's a cute little buzz phrase, and if you can lay it on your audience, they're going to think, wow, she's really in touch with herself. She really knows what's going on. I should think about whether or not I internalize the patriarchy. And then boom, they're coming over to your side. They're going to be feminists. They're going to be card-carrying women. Look out, world. Here comes that 18% roar down your throat. Nice job, Ashley.
This is really critical. Patriarchy is not boys and men. It is a system in which we all participate, including me.
Now I'm back on the fence. Is this an idiot speaking, or are we actually listening to a practice speaker who's laying it down thick and trying to get everybody to realize that they're the problem too? No. Men are supposed to be the problem. Men are supposed to be the patriarchy, holding the women down. Unless now all women have internalized patriarchy, in which case they're the problem too. In which case feminism is broken and it can't be fixed. You're all fucked in the head. Of course, we knew that already, but still, you're proving our point.
On that particular day, for some reason, that particular tweet after the basketball game triggered something called a cyber mob. This vitriolic, global outpouring of the most heinous hate speech, death threats, rape threats.
Were any of these credible threats? Did you take them to the police? Probably not. You're just going to sit there and bitch about it. Play the victim, because you're a feminist, and feminists are victims. Oh wait, women are victims. But all women are feminists, right? Or is it just 18%? Come on, Ashley, help me out here. I'm lost in the math. So, she's inundated with all of this vitriol, as she put it. And why? Maybe it was a response to her tweet, which said, in not so many words, the other team is cheating, the other team is beating the fuck out of my players. Maybe there was a little backlash to that. It's sports, after all. It's college sports. People go nuts. Does that excuse really, really vile and actionable threats? No, of course not. Now, who is it that brings her out of the depths of despair and shows her the way, shows her the light? Is it herself? Is it Gloria Steinem? Is it the woman, I'm assuming a woman, who scrubs her social media for her? Stand by for the answer.
And don't you know, when I was sitting at home alone in my nightgown, I got a phone call, and it was my beloved former husband, and he said on a voicemail, "Loved one, what is happening to you is not okay." And there was something about him taking a stand for me that night that allowed me to take a stand for myself, and I started to write.
How many of you bet a man? Because you're right. Her former husband, who brings tears to her eyes at the very thought of. A husband. Didn't Gloria Steinem say a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle? There's got to be some really weird fish in Ashley's neighborhood right now. Be that as it may, yes, it took a patriarchal white male to bring her up from the depths. Can anyone give me an irony?
I started to write about sharing the fact that I'm a survivor of all forms of sexual abuse, including 3 rapes, and the hate speech I get in response to that. These are just some of the comments posted to news outlets. Being told I'm a snitch is really fun.
That's pretty rough stuff there. But we're operating on the listen and believe law. She has no proof. She doesn't name names. There's another point to be made. How many of these were written by women? According to statistics, it could have been over 50%. Could some of these be the result of internalized misogyny? I don't know. Ashley just says that women are victims of internalized patriarchy. Does internalized patriarchy make you go out and accuse a woman who calls herself a rape victim, a 3-time rape victim, of being a liar? I don't know. Normally that is left up to internalized misogyny. I wish Ashley would help us get our internalized whatevers straightened out. So maybe a few of these tweets, these posts, are actually true. Maybe all of them are true. And maybe all of them were sent by women. Or all by men. We don't know for sure. But I know which way Ashley's leaning. Still, there's no proof anything of what she said actually happened. Yet she goes on about these rapes. Perhaps that's therapeutic, not just stuffing it down inside, but instead bringing it out there, telling people about your experiences. Okay, I'll give you that. But wait till what comes next.
Thank you, Jesus. May your grace and mercy shine.
Now we're bringing Jesus into it. She has a right to worship as she pleases. I don't respect religion. I'm an atheist, so I see it as being detrimental to her. And I have a question for Ashley. How has your belief in God, how has your faith in Lord Jesus Christ helped you with all of this drama, all of this tragedy in your life? According to you, you're a 3-time rape victim. You've gotten hateful, wicked, and deadly, according to you, posts from trolls. Well, I call them trolls. You may not think of them as such. You may think of them as just the general public infected with internalized patriarchy or misogyny or what the fuck ever. As Edward G. Robinson said in the 10 Commandments, where's your God now, Ashley?
So I wrote this feminist op-ed. It is entitled, Forget Your Team. It is your online gender violence toward girls and women that can kiss my righteous ass.
So once again, we're cute with the word ass. I still don't know why. I mean, she wrote it in the title of an article, for crying out loud. Anyway, I read this article, and it starts out describing her tweet that resulted from the actions being taken by the other team against her beloved University of Kentucky during March Madness. As I guessed earlier, these tweets were in retaliation to her taking the other team to task. The rest of the article is spent describing her victimhood in both incest and sexual assaults, and then her therapy recovering from that. But not without her mentioning that women and girls are the subjects of internet hatred all the time. No mention of boys whatsoever, just women and girls. We know that's not true, but in Ashley's case, I guess we'll have to make an exception. At the end of the article, she again explains how this is about sports and she's going to concentrate on picking her seeds for the next brackets of March Madness, yada yada yada. Fine, whatever. Oh, one last thing. This article appeared on the high-quality and never-controversial .mic.com, your home for crazy internet feminists everywhere, all the time.
And I did that alone, and I published it alone because my chief advisor said, please don't. The reign of retaliatory garbage that is inevitable, I fear for you. But I trust girls, and I trust women, and I trust our allies. It was published, it went viral, it proves that every single day, online misogyny is a phenomenon endured by us all over the world, and when it is intersectional, it is worse.
Yes, there is an online epidemic of hate against people. People, my dear, men, women, boys, girls. And half of it, even more than half of it, is the responsibility of women putting it out there, not men. But that doesn't fit your narrative, so we'll just forget that. We'll just gloss right over it. And what's this about it being worse if it's intersectional? Are you saying it's black men, Latino men, Hispanic men that are coming after you? Or is it all of those as women? I don't understand. How did intersectionality come into this all of a sudden? And are we going to go anywhere with this? I'm telling you right now, probably not.
Sexual orientation, gender identity, race, ethnicity, religion, you name it, it amplifies the violence endured by girls and women, and for our younger girls, it is worse.
I've got 2 words for you, Ashley. Citation needed.
It's clearly traumatizing. Our mental health, our emotional well-being are so gravely affected because the threat of violence is experienced neurobiologically as violence. The cortisol shoots up, the limbic system gets fired, we lose productivity at work.
And here we go again, equating an internet threat, words, digital words, to an actual physical threat. Yes, your cortisol goes up, blah, 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 during physical threats. But you are not suddenly infused with a fight or flight response if you get a nasty tweet or a nasty post on your Facebook page. It doesn't happen. I am tired of feminists trying to make this into, oh, someone was mean to me on the internet, therefore I'm a victim. Get the fuck over it.
And let's talk about work. Our ability to work is constrained. Online searches of women applying for jobs reveal nude pictures of them, false allegations they have STDs, their addresses indicating that they are available for sex, with real examples of people showing up at this house for said sex.
Oh my God. Somebody call the FBI. I mean, seriously. There must be so many terrible and absolutely frightening things about women, none of them true, on the internet, that they can't get hired by anyone. Certainly not anyone reputable. I'm sure the only employment they can find is as a stripper or maybe as a copy editor at the National Enquirer. You know, Mundane Matt was swatted. Dozens of people have been swatted just because they're there. Just because maybe they fragged one guy too many times in deathmatch, or they said something the other person didn't like, or they didn't like their haircut. What the fuck ever. I don't see you talking about that. I don't see you having a problem with that. No, women and girls, women, women, women. Third wave feminists are rife with stupidity and insanity.
Our ability to go to school is impaired. 96% of all postings of sexual images in our young people, girls, our girls.
I'm going to be kind and take that statistic at face value. I'll just give you that one. So here's the thing. The girls, our girls, are these images of them? How did those images get out? Did the boys sneak into their locker room or into the bathroom or into their bedroom and take these pictures without the girls knowing it? Or did these girls take these pictures willingly and send them on to the boys, who then, through revenge porn or whatever, put them out? Yes, that's a dick move, but unless the girl had put that image out there in the first place, it wouldn't be available. Just ask Onision how hard it is to get pictures of girls in their underwear. Not very.
Our boys are 2 to 3 times more likely non-consensually to share images.
The boys are 2 to 3 times more likely. 2 to 3 times more likely than whom? Than the girls. So the girls do it too, don't they? The girls are not innocent bystanders. The girls are not complete victims in this, are they? They have agency. They're able to do the same thing to the boys. So do the boys have trouble going to school? Probably yes. Did the boys give out those images? Yes, they did. So they're just as culpable as the girls in the reverse situation. There's enough blame to go around for everybody, Ashley, not just the boys.
And I want to say a word about revenge porn. Part of what came out of this tweet was my getting connected with allies and other activists who are fighting for a safe and free internet. We started something called the Speech Project, Curbing Abuse, Expanding Freedom, and that website provides a critical forum because there is no global legal thing to help us figure this out. But we do provide on that website a standardized list of definitions because it's hard to attack a behavior in the right way if we're not all sharing a definition of what that behavior is. And I learned that revenge porn is often dangerously misapplied. It is the non-consensual sharing of an image used tactically to shame and humiliate a girl or woman that attempts to pornography us. Our natural sexuality is, I don't know about yours, pretty gorgeous and wonderful. And my expressing it does not pornography make.
What the fuck are you talking about that expressing your sexuality does not make pornography? Of course it doesn't. No one said it did. You just defined revenge porn after saying you were going to talk about it and then taking forever to get there, and you mislabel it completely. You go from talking about how it's used tactically to shame someone at whatever, and then you talk about your own sexuality as if people had said it's pornography. I don't believe that's the case. And if it is, I'm going to need some examples. Now, let's look a little bit at that website you mentioned, wmcspeechproject.com. Yeah, the site that uses Pizzagate as the basis for an article. That's where I'm going to go to get my standardized definitions and have my freedom expanded. Give me a break, Ashley. Let's talk about that bit where you say revenge porn is about women and girls. I think Hulk Hogan and BuzzFeed would like to talk to you about who was involved in that revenge porn situation. You should check into that.
So I have all these resources that I'm keenly aware so many people in the world do not. I was able to start the Speech Project with colleagues. I can often get a social media company's attention. I have a wonderful visit to Facebook HQ coming up. Hasn't helped the idiotic reporting standards yet. I actually pay someone to scrub my social media feeds, attempting to spare my brain the daily iterations of the trauma of hate speech. And guess what? I get hate speech for that. Oh, you live in an echo chamber. Well, guess what? Having someone post a photograph of me with my mouth open saying they can't wait to come on my face, I have a right to set that boundary. Okay.
Aw, poor Ashley. She has all these wonderful resources at her fingertips, able to meet with Facebook, starting projects because she has backers, having someone on her payroll scrub her social media for her, just so she doesn't have to look at the plebes posting those nasty little things. You're a celebrity, sweetheart. Get used to it. If you didn't want to be a celebrity, you could have stayed home in Kentucky. Now maybe that's unfair. Just because she's a celebrity doesn't mean she should be suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous internet misfortune. But trolls are trolls, and they're going to go for the easy targets. And Ashley is presenting an easy target. She has the same resources available to her that every Twitter and every Facebook user has. It's called the block feature. It's all she has to do. Blockity block, block, block. I've seen it used. I haven't had to use it myself yet, but that's because I'm a peon. Once I make it big in Hollywood, I'm sure I'll pay someone to scrub my media for me because, heaven forbid, I should have to tap my little finger a couple times here and there to shut up a troll. And yes, you are living in an echo chamber. You live in Hollywood. That's the biggest, most successful echo chamber in the world. You should be proud of that. You've helped create it.
And this distinction between virtual and real is specious because guess what? That actually happened to me once when I was a child. And so that tweet brought up that trauma, and I had to do work on that. But you know what we do? We take all of this hate speech and we disaggregate it and we code it and we give that data so that we understand the intersectionality of it. You know, when I get porn, when it's about political affiliation, when it's about age, when it's about all of it. We're going to win this fight.
Yes, you heard her right. A tweet brought back a childhood trauma that she had suppressed all those years. The power of the internet. Ain't it wonderful? How many of you buy that story, by the way? Show of hands. 1, 2. Oh, that's all my subscribers, so I can't count any higher. Anyway, she uses the word intersectionality again. And to quote a very, very favorite movie of mine, I do not think that word means what you think it means. She's talking about getting these troll hits from such things as her political aspirations, her job in Hollywood, from all these different areas. She sees that as intersectionality. Now, I'm no expert on this stuff, but I've heard enough about intersectionality to know it has nothing to do with subject matter, and it has everything to do with race and other things that stack up on the oppression scale. It's got nothing to do with your political affiliation there, sweetie.
There are a lot of solutions. Thank goodness. I'm going to offer just a few. And of course, I challenge you to create and contribute your own. Number one, we have to start with digital media literacy. And clearly it must have a gendered lens. Kids, schools, caregivers, parents, it's essential.
If by digital literacy you're talking about taking kids and leading them through the do's and don'ts of the rough and tumble digital world, then I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. But what is this part about a gendered lens? What the fuck? Why does it have to be gendered? What possible version of reality do you live in where that would make sense? the girls have to be taught differently than the boys? Or do the girls have to be taught all alone, without any teaching of the boys at all? Is it just a girl thing still? Because if it is, you should just fall over and break your neck on the stage right now.
2, shall we talk about our friends in tech? Said with dignity and respect, the sexism in your workplaces must end. EDGE, the global standard for gender equality, is the minimum standard. And guess what? Silicon Valley, if L'Oreal in India, in the Philippines, in Brazil, and in Russia can do it, you can too. Enough excuses. Only when women have critical mass in every department at your companies, including building platforms from the ground up, will the conversations about priorities and solutions change.
Okay, so I did some poking around on Google, and I couldn't find anything about this EDGE. There is a website called edge.org, but it's a creation of the World Question Center. It has nothing to do with tech hiring practices. So if any of you out there know what's going on with this, put something in the comments, please. So obviously Ashley's pissed because tech companies aren't listening. Well, they are. Anita Sarkeesian's been all over Google and different video manufacturers. More on that later. And women are getting heard. So that part's bullshit. And then there's this bit about creating critical mass in the workplace. Lady, women aren't going into STEM at the same rate men are. Women aren't built to be interested in STEM as much as men are. So until women start learning STEM, they're not going to get into the jobs. The jobs are there, there's just no women to fill them. So unless these companies start hiring undereducated, underperforming, yet quota-filling women to do these jobs, you're not going to get your wish. And if they do that, then they're going to go into Suck City. Your demands are completely unhinged.
And more love for my friends in tech. Profiteering off misogyny in video games must end. I'm so tired of hearing you talk to me at cocktail parties, like you did a couple weeks ago in Aspen, about how deplorable #Gamergate was, when you're still making billions of dollars off games that maim and dump women for sport. Basta, as the Italians would say. Enough.
Wow, a Gamergate reference. So topical. It was only 2 years ago. And yes, of course, video games are misogynist. Wow. That's last year. Anita's been all over that. I see we've gone from sports to Twitter to rape, and now we're talking about video games. What a tour de force. The misogyny in games has been beat to death by the aforementioned AS, so there's no need to even go into it here. Once again, you're talking out of your ass.
Our friends in law enforcement have much to do, because we've seen that online violence is an extension of in-person violence. In our country, more girls and women have been murdered by their intimate partners than died on 9/11 and have died since in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. And it's not cool to say that, but it is true. We care so much geopolitically about what men are doing over there to women over there. In 2015, 72,828 women used intimate partner violence services in this country. That is not counting the girls and women and boys who needed them.
Well, that was a speech in and of itself. I know I let it go on for a while, but sometimes you just gotta let the crazy flow. So, women are killed by intimate partners. So are men. You're most likely to be killed by someone you know, and then most likely to be killed by someone you know intimately. It cuts both ways, my dear. Literally. And let's not forget about the women who kill their kids. That's intimate violence. I'm sure that's going to be brought up sometime in the future. Not. You can throw statistics around all you want, but the fact of the matter is, it's not a war against women. And to say that no one is paying attention to women's problems over here, that they're only looking at them in the Middle East or wherever, is bullshit, and you know it. Look at all the rape culture scares on college campuses. Look at the Duluth model, which is used in many areas of the United States to determine which partner is guilty of assault in a domestic violence case. And thank you for including boys in that little statement at the end. Maybe you could mention the fact that boys can't stay in many of these violence shelters once they're over the age of 13 because they're really exclusively for women and girls, and boys are a bad influence. Boys could rape these women and girls once they're in puberty. We all know that men are rapists, and that just proves it. So why aren't there separate shelters for men and boys? Oh, no. Think of the women's. Yeah, we know where your bread is buttered.
Law enforcement must be empowered with up-to-date internet technology, the devices, and an understanding of these platforms, how they work. The police wanted to be helpful when Amanda Hess called about the death threat she was getting on Twitter, but they couldn't really when they said, "What's Twitter?"
Good old anecdotal evidence. No facts as to where this happened or when this happened. I'm sure some departments are behind the ball when it comes to social media. They may not have the funding to put that kind of outfit together at the moment. They're all scrambling to put on body cams. So I'm sorry, whoever this is, friend, made-up person, whatever, couldn't get this taken care of by a dedicated desk to social media. What a tragedy.
Our legislators must write and pass astute legislation that reflects today's technology and our notions of free and hate speech. In New York recently, the law could not be applied to a perpetrator because the crimes must have been committed, even if it was anonymous. They must have been committed by telephone, in mail, by telegraph. The language must be technologically neutral.
Another anecdote. Never heard of this case. And where did it happen exactly? Was this covered by state law, by local law, by New York City law? I think a crime committed over the internet has already been dealt with by federal legislation. Bring it to the attention of the FBI. They'll handle it. They'll look into it. Now, if it's Zoe Quinn or Anita Sarkeesian, then there won't be anything to find because it's all made up shit. And in this case here, you're talking about someone who sent it anonymously. May not even be able to be traced. And I really don't know what technologically neutral means. Does that mean it just covers all platforms in one swath? That's not very realistic. Legislation and the penal code derived from them have to be pretty specific. You can't just say all electronic means of communication and be done with it. That's not good enough.
So apparently, I've got a pretty bold voice. So let's talk about our friends, white men.
Okay, everybody. As Hagbard says, brace for impact.
You have a role to play and a choice to make. You can do something, or you can do nothing. We're cool in this room, but when this goes out, everyone will say, "Oh my God, she's a reverse racist." That quote was said by a white man, Robert Morris, chairperson, Price Waterhouse Cooper. He asked me to include it in my talk.
I hate to break it to you, Ashley, but if you include a reverse racism quote in your talk, and you don't say, "I don't agree with reverse racism," you're a reverse racist. Wear it proudly, my dear. Why does it have to be white men? Why can't it be men? And then again, why does it have to be men? I thought women were strong. Women were in charge. Women were able to rise up and be the power they need to be. Or is it just a matter of getting men to white knight for them and sitting back and watching it all happen? Take your pick.
We need to grow support lines and help groups so victims can help each other when their lives and finances have been derailed. We must, as individuals, disrupt gender violence as it is happening. 92% of young people 29 and under witness it. 72% of us have witnessed it. We must have the courage and urgency to practice stopping it as it is unfolding.
More support groups. Of course, there just aren't enough resources out there for women right now. They're left alone, bereft, no one to turn to, nowhere to go. Fuck you. Then we get to interrupting intimate violence when it happens, interrupting partner violence. Do you know what the most dangerous police call is? The one that officers dread the most? Domestic violence calls. Because things are so out of hand, tempers are flaring to such an incredible degree that people will snap in a moment and attack the nearest thing. And if their attention is diverted away from the intimate partner, then who's left to deal with it? The cop. And sometimes when you intervene, it turns out that they both decide to fight you. And now you've gone from a mollifying situation to a 2-on-1 attack situation. And you want people who are untrained and unarmed to stick themselves into that situation. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
And lastly, believe her. Believe her. This is fundamentally a problem of human interaction. And thus, I believe that human interaction is at the core of our healing. Trauma not transformed will be trauma transferred.
Yes, my dear viewers, she just said, listen and believe. I guess it was inevitable. She's hit every other feminist trope in this talk. So, why not the one that paints men in the worst possible light? The one that takes away innocent until proven guilty and sticks them in a court of law with almost no resources whatsoever. Yeah, listen and believe. Because there's never a false rape accusation. That doesn't happen in society. Women always tell the truth about sexual assault.
Edith Wharton said the end is latent in the beginning, so we are going to end this talk replacing hate speech with love speech. Because I get lonely in this, but I know that we are allies.
I'm stopping here to prepare you for what's about to come. But I don't know how. First, there's going to be an anatomy lesson, which I'm impressed by because it means she can still learn her lines. And then it's going to get into some really touchy-feely shit. Yes, she knows that room is full of allies because it's all feminists. It's all women who are there lapping it up. So she's going to be able to treat them like trained animals, and she'll have them eating out of the palm of her hand. I don't know if it's weird, cute, or just plain sickening, but here it comes.
I recently learned about how gratitude and affirmations offset negative interactions. It takes 5 of those to offset 1 negative interaction. And gratitude in particular, free, available globally, anytime, anywhere, to anyone in any dialect. It fires the pregenual anterior cingulate, a watershed part of the brain that floods it with great good stuff. So I'm going to say awesome stuff about myself. I would like for you to reflect it back to me. It might sound something like this. I am a powerful and strong woman, and you would say, yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
My mama loves me.
Yes, she does.
I did a great job with my talk.
Yes, you did.
I have a right to be here.
Yes, you do.
I'm really cute. God does good work.
Yes, he does.
And I love you. Thank you so much for letting me be of service. Bless you.
Told you so. Bizarre, wasn't it? Words fail me. So, that was Ashley Judd going on and on about feminism shit. First, it was about online violence. Online violence. Yeah, that's what the talk was supposed to be about. If you look at the title, it says, Ashley Judd, blah, 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 online violence, blah, blah, blah. So where did all the rest of this feminism come from? Well, she had to fill it with something, otherwise it would have only been about 3 minutes long. And Lord knows, put an actress on stage, and they're not going to keep it short. And speaking of actress, I would be remiss if I did not bring up Ms. Judd's broad acting technique during this speech. The deep sighs, the asides. She does everything but clap for emphasis. Quite pathetic, really. By the way, I can't wait to read up on the part of the brain she referred to. My anatomy's pretty rusty because I've never heard of that. I guess it's some recent functional MRI thing. We'll see. Anyway, we've proven that Ashley Judd is a basket case. She has no real concept of reality. She has no real concept of what's right and what's wrong when it comes to gender issues. It's all women all the time. That part about teaching kids about digital interaction while looking at it through a gendered lens, oh, that set me off. I don't think I'll ever forget that line. So I'll leave it there. Thank you all for sticking with this. I know it's a long one, but I thought if Goodfella can do it and Bane can do it, why can't I? And no, I'm not comparing myself to Goodfella or Bane. They're great channels, and I'm just a puny little guy, but sometimes you just gotta dream big. Thank you for your attention.